everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight on Friday. I am so excited to be here with Christina Suzann Nelson, who is so happy to come on my channel and talk about her book, which I do have next to me, What Happens Next. So I see two people have popped in. Let us know who's here. And you probably read the book since you know this is the book chat tonight. So thank you for coming, Christina.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
I know this is my first author chat, so I'm nervous, but I'm also really excited.
I love these things.
And I get to meet you next month, which is even more exciting. So yes.
That's great. I can't wait.
Yeah, that was my plan actually when I did my my readathon. I was like, I'm picking 4 books from authors that are going to be there so I can chat with whoever everybody picks. So
that is great.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions when they pop in, just feel free to put them in the comments. I did put a post earlier if anybody had comments that they weren't going to be able to make it, but seems like everybody's going to make it, so that's good. Hey, Kim. Kim is here from South Texas. Happy to see you here, Kim.
Hi, Kim.
And thankfully, my app is working. I couldn't hear Christina for like the longest time. I was like, oh, no. So thank you, God, for helping us with the audio.
There you go.
And Elma's here. Oh, nice. She finished the book this morning. I finished it last night, so I switched to the audio and I was able to finish quicker.
I am such a slow reader. It takes me forever to finish a book. But I do a lot of audio books too, so I still manage to go through like 150 books a year.
Oh, you're not a slow reader.
That's the audio and the in your hand book.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Nice, we're getting lots of people here. I'm so excited that all of you were able to read the book and here to chat with us. So I really wanted to know what inspired you to write this story, Christina? Was there an idea that popped in, or was it like a podcast you listened to or something?
I think God just inspires me to write different things because I never know what I'm going to write next until I'm about halfway through writing a novel. And then I start to think, oh, this is it. There's going to be no more ideas. And then all of a sudden this idea comes in, and then I have trouble focusing for a little bit on the novel I'm writing, jump to the next one. And so I wanted to do something with a cold case. I hadn't done a cold case. And 1987, come on, 1987 is awesome. I turned 16 at the end of that year. So it was a time period that I thought would be a lot of fun. So it just kind of, because I'm a seat of the pants writer, I don't have all of my ideas until I'm writing the book. So I have like a skeleton. And then as I'm writing, so many things come up. And some of it's like things that I get interested in. I go on these little tangents, these research tangents, like about the salvage divers. I was watching all these videos about these salvage divers that were finding people who'd been missing for years and years. And so that had to be in the book, and, just stuff like that. So, yeah.
I like how you added in those little details where it's like, you didn't have to have a diver in there, but you're like, oh, like, I did. Sounds like a good idea.
I had to justify all the videos I watched. So.
So did any ideas from your book come from real life experiences?
Well, so I lost my brother when I was a freshman in high school. So there was that. A little bit different though. My brother had Gaucher's disease, and he passed away when he was quite young. And so that it informed some of my thoughts and how I had different characters deal with that grief. especially when I thought about the siblings and what that would be like to lose their sister, because I know what it's like to lose my brother, and it's very life altering. I As far as my own, well, I would say that the part where we dive a bit into grief and having that permission to grieve and to feel those feelings of loss, whether that's because of death or even because of a dream that's lost, that it is definitely experiences I've had in my own life. Let's see. Yeah, my dad passed away right when we got two more little girls. They were 5 and 7, and they moved in. So no. Speaking of those little girls, close the door. Close the door. I'm so sorry. This is why my husband installed a lock on my office door. Their birth mother passed away, and then my dad passed away a week later, and then the girls moved in with us. So they were 5 and 7 at the time. So, there was so much going on that I really didn't have time to grieve and didn't know how to do that. So that was, some things that I was going through and some things I was thinking about at that time.
Yeah, you can tell in your writing, like, you may have experienced that, and your process of like healing through God's love and stuff. You can definitely see that in the book and in your writing.
Thank you.
So for those of you just popping in, if you have any questions to ask Christina, please do, about her author life, other books, this book, whatever, feel free to.
So Alma's comment here about also, so Faith was dealing with grief of the loss of her parents, her friend, but also her divorce. And I think it's important that we recognize that when we lose a dream, when we lose this vision that we have for our lives, that can be very, very devastating, and that does require a time of grieving. So that was something that came out of just listening to people while I was reading this book and putting myself in the position of the characters. Just a lot of that thought that there's so many things that can steamroll us in life. And it's sometimes we just try to put a pretty picture on it, but sometimes you do need to sit and be sad for a little bit. And so you can move on and go to the next great adventure. But yeah, life is not always easy. And it's not always what we planned. Okay. 97% of the time, it's not what I planned.
So who inspired you the most while writing? Was there any authors that you looked to that they were like rooting you on as you were writing, or if you got any insight from any authors?
Well, I have some of the absolute best writer friends in the entire world, and they're always inspiring me. I don't even know where to start. Jody Bailey, Karen Barnett, Heidi Gall, Dawn White, Amy Earls, Susie Finkbeiner. I love Susie.
I love Susie.
Trisha Goyer. I could just like list names for the next half an hour of these people that just inspire me, because I see them getting the work done when it's hard, and they're always like, oh, you can do it, and I love that. And this is a great business to be in. Everyone is so supportive of each other. But I have to say that the person who inspired me the most was actually someone that I learned about during my research. And I actually have her picture here. I keep it here on my desk. This is Casey Perry. Casey disappeared in 1990 from Portland, Oregon. And Casey's story had, in some ways, some real similarities to my own story. When I was 10 years old, my dad decided that I wasn't safe at my mother's house, and he went to court to move me to his house. The same thing happened, or similar thing was about to happen with Casey. So I know what it's like to want to be safe, but also not want to leave that little brother behind that you are caring for, that you feel responsible for. And so I often wonder if Casey, if that's what made her run off that night, if she was worried about her brother that she would be leaving behind. But I have to say that knowing Casey's story inspired me the entire way. She was constantly on my mind. So yeah, sometimes it's the research that does it. Actually, when I wrote The Way It Should Be, it was a woman that I interviewed who was a recovering addict who had been through trafficking and all sorts of things many things that were not in the book, but she told me when we sat down together, and I felt like she was just there with me the entire time I was writing. I felt a responsibility to her to write truth.
Yeah, Kim was telling me about a girl who went missing just down her street, and they still haven't found her. So I know Kim felt a connection to the story. She actually texted me. I think you were the one that texted me on Facebook, Kim, and she was like, "I just finished it." And
that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard people say, since writing this book, I've heard people say, well, why is it so important that missing children are found if you realize that the child has probably died, was probably killed? It is important because it's important to the family. It's important to just know and not to be stuck in that. But what if she's still out there? What if there's something we could have done differently? It's hard for entire communities.
Yeah, I think if my mom wasn't there, I think I would have been a missing child at 3. We were, I think, no, younger than 3, but we were in a store, and this lady came up. She had like a tag on that worked in the store, but she was asking me questions like, "Oh, where's your mommy?" And she was like asking weird questions to kind of get me away. And I was too young to talk, but like I was literally looking from the lady to my mom. My mom will tell the story, but the lady's not even looking at my mom. And my mom's like, "I'm right here. I'm her mom." And I'm like, we left the store immediately. But yeah, like if my mom wasn't there, I don't know what would have happened to me. So
that's scary.
Scary, yeah. And that was in 1994, probably, in Washington.
When I was little, I wandered away from my house and into the bank on the corner of the block, apparently buck naked, and wandered in. Luckily, I guess I looked a lot like my dad. So that's got to be Terry's daughter. And somebody took me home.
You were easily recognizable. I don't look like either of my parents, so.
It's funny because I don't see it that much, but apparently it's there. So saved me that day.
Yeah. So, podcasts. Do you personally enjoy podcasts? And if you have any like favorites that you listen to?
Oh, I love podcasts, but I don't. So it depends on what I'm researching for a book as to what I'm listening to. So as I was writing this book, I listened to a lot of true crime podcasts. So many true crime podcasts. Some of them are absolutely horrible, and some of them are really, really good. So that was really interesting. I think Crime Junkies was probably my favorite out of the whole list of those. But I listen, like there's one that my son told me about. I forget I don't remember what it's called, but it's like 15 minutes. and there's multiple episodes a week, and it just tells you about some random thing and how it works, or what. I love it. It's awesome. I love the TED Talks you can just listen to. I'm so eclectic. I just, I'm all over the place. I'm your typical ADD writer. I'm all over. But
That sounds like me. It's like I just started writing my book, and it's like my brain's all over the place already.
Yeah, it's almost like writing gives me the permission to be a little bit more. And yeah, but podcasts are such a great place to get personal information about different situations, to really hear how people handle things. I feel like I get more of a personal touch when I'm listening to someone talk about their experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my friend has a question. She said Heather was hit by the car in the book. She doesn't understand, though, when it's mentioned that the dad's was damaged, but the truck that went missing was found in the lake. Why was the truck in the lake?
Okay. So the truck was in the lake. Oh, because there's a small mention in it to it. So you have to be really, really paying attention for this one. It was an attempt to set up Mr. Potter. So they actually stole his pickup and dumped it in the lake.
Pretty smart
But
thinking.
it's a very sneaky little clue in there. So, yeah. So, yeah, it was the dad and the guys, and I'm in the middle of another book. So now it's like, what were those guys' names? But
yeah, I don't remember the guys' names either.
The bad guys.
The bad guys, yeah, the henchmen.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I guessed almost immediately that it was the dad. Like after we knew that he did kill himself, I'm like, I bet he had something to do with it. Like I just knew. I was like, there's got to be something going on. And I didn't know that like he technically didn't kill her, but he felt the grief and stuff of like his henchmen doing the job, and like
the guilt was pretty overwhelming.
It's like he wanted to go to the police, but they were like, oh no, can't. Or was it the henchmen that wanted to go to the police? One of them wanted to.
I can't. And my brain is so in the next story right now. Those details are, yeah. I want to tell you about Bristol's details, and Bristol and Clara and Kinsey.
Well, I did want to ask you, are you working on a project, which sounds like you are? Can you tell us anything about it?
I am, and I'm having so much fun. So, because I'm a seat of the pants writer, sometimes this will happen where I'll get partway in and then I get stuck and I don't know what's wrong. And so usually I go back to the beginning, because it usually is a problem in the beginning. And sure enough, I was walking around one day and I'm like, oh, well, this has to happen to her at the beginning. Anyway. So it's a story about a man who goes missing on his way to the draft office in 1970. And the town has assumed that he's a draft dodger, but we don't know if he's a draft dodger. There's a murder that happens over that course of time also, and there's a lot of tension in this town because of the Vietnam War. And at the point in history that we're at with the Vietnam War in 1970, there's a lot of protest, and people are really struggling with how they feel about the draft, and about the fighting, and about the crazy amount of death that they're seeing. And then something happens in current day between the grandmother, who was Clara, the wife of Bristol Danes, and her granddaughter. They're the only two living from that family, and she needs to find out what happened, because there's some danger. I can't tell you about that, but it's really fun. And yeah, I'll be making Harvey Wallbanger cake this next week. apparently was quite popular in 1970. I was not born in 1970, so but yeah, my kids are like, oh great, we get to eat from another time period again.
I'll come over and eat with you.
That's not their favorite part.
That'd be my favorite part. I like to try different things.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so that's what I'm writing now, and it is fascinating to learn about that period in our history, but it is so much harder to get people to talk about that period of history than any other subject that I've needed to research by actually interviewing people. This is by far the hardest.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it sounds really good, though. I'll be praying that you get
Thanks.
all the information you need.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so Kim says that she appreciates that the tone wasn't thriller dark, that you added those light touches of the kid antics. Yeah, it was nice to get those breaks in between and get the flashback of them just having a nice summer together.
Yeah, well, and I wanted the reader to be really invested in Heather's story too. I mean, you have to know Heather to be completely invested in what happens to her, what happens next. So I wanted the reader to have the opportunity to know the person that had developed in my head. So she got to have her own point of view.
Yeah, almost wondering what genre this book was. Was it thriller, mystery, suspense?
So I just recently heard someone call books like this um, literary mysteries.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say literary suspense because it's kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah. So so I think it is because there's a lot more character development than you tend to get in a mystery, but you still get the whodunit piece and all of that. But it's, to me, when I first started writing this book, I was thinking that I love kind of that women's fiction feel, but I also love a really good mystery. And I thought, why not blend those two together and see what happens? What happens next? um, and this is what came of that. And I actually really enjoyed writing that. There were a few books that I found that were similar, but there's not much out there. I think we'll be seeing more of this literary mystery style in the near future, though.
So what was your favorite part to write? Was there a certain part of the story that you enjoyed writing the most?
Oh, everything with Heather. Heather's whole journey that summer was so much fun because it just took me back to that time. And that time where kids weren't, I don't know, leashed to devices, and you could just, there was a freedom to that doesn't often exist anymore. So that was really fun. And I just found her to be quirky and funny and spunky, and I just really liked her.
I liked her too. Yeah, I get that. I think the 90s was like the last generation to have fun outdoors.
Yeah.
They say the 80s, but I'm like, wait a minute. No, I spent like all my time outdoors when I was younger.
My older kids, they didn't even know some of these, all this. Yeah, they didn't have all this technology.
Yeah.
My younger kids have more access, but during the summer, I pretty much shut things down and up you go.
So does anybody else have any other questions? I think asked all my questions. Well, do you have any questions for me while we're waiting? I mean,
I want to know. Tell me what you're writing.
I am writing a adventure romance treasure hunting mystery. So there's not much in the market for that. So I was like, why not write it?
That's awesome. I can't wait. How far are you into it?
Not very. I'm still in the first chapter, but I've only started like a couple weeks ago, so I'm just still thinking. But my mom did help me with an idea because she is kind of klutzy. So like I really wanted this to be like a funny humor in it. So like there's one scene that I already know of where my main character is gonna end up knocking out the pilot by accident and she's gonna have to fly
Nice.
a plane for a few seconds. So that's gonna be one scene in there somewhere, and I think it's gonna be really funny.
That is great. You'll have to keep me updated as you go through the writing process. I want to hear about it.
Alma says that Heather was such a sweet girl, and the closer we got to September 1st, just felt so sad knowing something was going to happen to her. I know it's like I read the audio, so I was like, I couldn't remember the date or anything, and I was like, oh no, when's it going to happen?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't know what happened to Heather until the very end myself. So, oh, there's part of me is like, well, maybe she's okay, but no, that might actually be worse. I mean, if she, yeah. Anyway,
I'd be like that too. Like I can't think of an ending. Like I think I'm going to be like writing chronologically.
I often don't know exactly what's going to happen when I write a book. There's only been a couple where I've really known, and it's more fun. It surprises me, so I hope it surprises readers.
So Kim asked, how many books do you have published? I'm guessing 4, but I could be wrong.
6.
6.
That was good. That was a really good guess. I had 4 with Bethany House.
Oh, that's probably what I was thinking.
It's all together.
No, Kim likes the buzzwords of my book. Okay, so about her dad, like at first it was kind of funny. Like you had Dora, Heather's mom, work for her dad. So I thought there was something honestly going on between the two of them. Did you think that may have been a plot line that you were thinking about doing? Like not
I
necessarily there was an affair, but like something may have been happening between them or
I kind of wondered if Faith's dad wouldn't make some kind of move on
yeah, that's what
Heather's
I was
mom,
thinking.
but he didn't. So I
Yeah,
mean,
he did. He did good.
that goes into the I really don't know what's going to happen. Are my other books similar in style? I would say that my books have been slowly moving to this style, and they will probably remain like this for a while because I really have kind of found what I love. So my first book is actually it's about 3 women who haven't seen each other in over 20 years, and they go on this survival week in the Cascades, and it goes horribly wrong, and it's just this adventure in the mountains, goofy. But they're also, the question I was thinking of then was, can 3 people who are vastly different be friends? And how does that work? So I started off there, and then there was a real family drama after that. And then, hold on. Okay. I have to look back to see which book is next. And then the next one was, there's some crime in it. Yeah, it's more than we remember. And it really digs into how much can you trust your own memories, and how much are your memories shaped by the filter of your experiences. So that, yeah, but it did have some mystery. And then The Way It Should Be was one that was just really close to my heart. It's about foster care and how addiction impacts families, and about 2 twin sisters whose lives go completely different directions, but then they crash into each other. So that was actually, that one is the one that's the closest to my heart. That actually won a Christie Award, which was a real shocker to me because my whole life goal was to get nominated for a Christie. Then I didn't even watch the Christie nominations because I knew I wasn't at a point where I was going to get nominated for a Christie. It wasn't until my editor told me. And then when it won, I was so shocked because it was with Charles Martin and Amanda Dykes, and they are phenomenal. So, I didn't prepare anything to say. I just cried. It was really ridiculous. um, uh, Shaped by the Waves is my COVID book. That's what I think of. Every time I see that book, that's what I think of. Because when people were talking about isolation during COVID, there was no isolation here. My office is here in my house. My husband started working from home. My little girls came home from school and we're doing school at home. My big girls came home from college and we're doing college from home. It was chaos in this house. So, but Shaped by the Waves is where I started really doing more mystery. Yeah, and from there forward, that's just, I really enjoyed the mystery aspect. And I think that we all kind of like reading a mystery. So good. I'm glad she thought Nathan was the killer.
I thought for a split second, but then I was like, no, I really want him and Faith to like fall back in love. I'm like, I don't think it's him. And I knew it wasn't the neighbor guy. I was like, no, he's just a, kind of grumpy old man. I was like, he couldn't have done it.
I felt bad for Mr. Potter the whole time I was writing the story. I say this as though I didn't have a choice.
That's right. You have a choice. Not anymore, but you did it one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Alma.
Yeah, you were talking about staying home. Like, that's actually when I started my YouTube channels.
Yeah.
Was like, I was already home because like I have a lot of health issues, so I couldn't really get a full-time job. And I was like, well, God pointed me to Bible journaling, which has helped so much in my creativity. And I started YouTube that way. And then I started my book channel almost 3 years ago now. And yeah, this is where God wants me, YouTube.
That's great. That is really great. I love channels like yours. I like to see what it is that people, what's really resonating with readers and what they're looking for. I'd like to say that I will try to write to that, but that's probably not reality either, though, because sometimes, the story just kind of drops in and I know. But yeah.
Everybody reads differently. Yeah, this is the third buddy read. And so far, every single buddy read I've had in my readathons, everybody has enjoyed. So I don't think anybody has not enjoyed the buddy read. So
that's so fun.
Picked good picks. Yeah. Oh yeah, Kim. Yeah, when Faith found her car in the garage. Yeah, that car. I was like, why is the car mentioned? There's something suspicious with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, like how the bike was still there. Like, you think he would have hidden it or something? Like, did he kill himself? Like, pretty much as the bike was like still in it? Like, was it like the same time span or?
I think that the guilt didn't allow him.
Yeah,
because ultimately he wanted them to know what had happened.
Thankfully, he left clues.
Yeah.
Well, you guys helped picked it because I picked 4 options. You guys picked this one. But that was good because I was very happy you picked this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Grandma was no.
Yeah, Grandma just didn't care about that car sitting there forever. But I think that that's kind of the thing that, sometimes, there are weird things in my house that, okay, this is a story. This is just a story. my boys are going to have a fit when they find out I told this online. So my two oldest kids are boys. And when you have a boy, it's one thing. When you have two boys, it is like 100 times more because they feed off of each other. So Joshua was sitting at the computer apparently one day, and Ryan was, I don't know, making this, like, he had this, I wasn't home, and he had this little pry bar, and he was kind of like sword fighting or something with it and pretending he was going to get Joshua. Anyway, he does something over his head. It flicks out of the handle and goes into the wall. So my boys come, yeah, I know. So it's a blue wall. So my boys have this brilliant idea that they're going to put painter's tape over it, and mom is never going to notice. Okay, there's still painter's tape on that spot on the wall.
That was a memory, yeah. Every time you look at it.
Wrong. But now it's like I kind of don't want to take it off. I've actually thought about putting a little frame around it. It reminds me of how, the fact that I kept those two alive through their childhood is just a huge accomplishment. So, I think as a mom, sometimes there's just things you don't want to not be there, even though they're sad too, or they're, I don't know, weird.
Yeah, just want to remember that certain thing that happened.
Yeah.
I just saw a video the other day where this kid drew on the wall, and the mom was telling the dad, "You gotta fix this. You gotta fix this." Like, he drew a picture frame around it and drew a Mickey like he was painting himself. So it was like a kid doodle of Mickey. And I'm like, that is like the cutest thing.
Right. Oh, I had this big loop of ink behind my bed for the longest time. I finally didn't get over that. 6 kids are rough on an old farmhouse.
I was an only child, and I still caused problems. There was a sticky spot on the ceiling for like the longest time. My friend and I threw a sticky ball up on the ceiling, and it came down, but it left a really weird stain. And it was there for a while. You can still see the outline from the fresh paint. So 15 years ago. Oh yeah, Elma the Fair. Oh, that was, yeah. I was a fair goer when I was younger too.
Yeah, I grew up being in 4-H at the fair. My kids have all grown up being in 4-H at the same fair, and yeah.
Yeah, we used to go to a lot of rodeos because I grew up in Texas, so we used to go to rodeos, which was a lot of fun.
Yep.
You're welcome, Susan. She's gonna watch the video later because she hasn't read your book yet.
Oh yeah, lots of spoilers.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. Well, I think she just popped in, so.
Well, thank you for reading it, Susan, when you watch this later.
It's my mom popping in. She goes, "Do you have a famous book, or what is the best one?" So apparently my dad wants to read one of your books.
Let's see. I get more men reading the first book, but my favorite book is The Way It Should Be. This one.
Oh, I love the cover. Oh yeah, I've seen that cover before. I don't own it, but it's cute.
This one is kind of fun too.
Kim's brother did the same thing, putting something sticky on a ceiling. Church is worse. At least mine was at home.
There's a mark in the church from one of my boys also, and it was from right after the remodel, so everything was brand. No.
Friend
Hi,
Jamie.
Jamie.
Hey, Jamie. Oh, Elma's reading both of those. Nice. So you really like the one for the buddy read, and now you're gonna binge read all the rest of her books. Yeah, not yet.
I'm a klutz.
She has made my nose bleed though.
I bit one of my daughter's finger when she was really little. She was giggling and giving me her apple to bite. And I accidentally totally bit her finger. And the look of disappointment on that child's face, I will never get over.
I'm laughing at my mom because I can hear her laughing downstairs. She's watching the video. That's how loud her laugh is. It travels up here. You'll get to meet her next month too. So. Yeah, I gotta add those other books of yours to my TBR. I have the one you wrote in 2020. I have that one. I think that's all I own so far. Maybe I'll pick some more up from Baker when I'm there.
Oh, I can't wait. That's going to be so much fun.
It is. I went last year. It was so much fun.
This is I did FRS the year that it was virtual because of COVID, but this is my first in-person FRS.
You're going to have fun. Last year was my first year.
And I get to see Susie and Chris, and that'll be fun too, because I love them.
Susie, yeah, I get to see kind of funny, but I'm really excited to meet Karen and Anne. They work for Baker, but I've been talking with them on phone because I review for them. So, yeah. So I'm I finally get to meet you guys because they weren't there last year.
And they have such an amazing team over there.
They do. If I lived closer, I would definitely get a job over there.
If I lived closer, I would just be in the coffee shop working there all the time.
Yeah.
I think Susie does that quite a bit. I'm a little jealous.
Jamie said, or not Jamie. Why did I think Jamie? Sorry. Her mom would take her brother, cousins, and her to the fair every year. That sounds so much fun. Oh man, 5 kids. Wow.
Oh my
we used
goodness.
to go to the fair every year. We haven't actually gone in a few years. Alma wants to know, do you have a title for your Vietnam book?
Okay, so that's funny because that is the thing that isn't done yet. Yeah. No, because no one can come up with a title for the Vietnam book. Somebody said Cold Draft because it's about a cold case and the draft. And it took me a full day before I was like, you can't call it Cold Draft. That's like a beer. A cold draft. So I told him, that's it. That's what we'll do. I think it might be something like he didn't come home or he never came home or I don't know. I don't know. I'm really not good at titles. My editors have changed my titles every single time. And this is the first time I get to pick a title. And I'm like, there's a reason that they picked a different title. But my agent's been helping with that too. So we're working on it. If anybody has any good ideas, I'm open.
It's funny. I came up with my title because my friend said she read a book called The Treasure Hunters Club. And she said it was so bad. It had a lot of bad language. She thought it was going to be clean. And she's like, I wish that I could just take a book title and create an entirely different book that I enjoyed. And I was like, that's my book title. Oh yeah, it is fun. We'll have to have sit with me during. Are you going to the pizza party thing for dinner at FRS?
I think so.
You think so? Well, if you are, we can sit together.
Yes, that'd be fun. What does the title mean? I didn't come up with the title. I think that they were just thinking, because you're following the story, I think it was because you're following Heather's story through the summer that they
That's
came
what
up
I was
with
thinking.
that title. But I'm not sure. I don't have a good title creating brain, so I'm not sure.
I was gonna say that it's like a whodunit, what happens next to Heather?
Yeah. And then I think Meg Ryan came out with a movie that's called What Happens Next, not long after my book.
She stole it.
Yeah, rude.
Yeah, Texas is a long way.
I feel like everywhere I go is a long way because I'm all the way over here in Oregon. So,
Yeah, I'm in New York. Nothing ever comes to New York. Like no authors, nothing. I'm like, I live near Buffalo. It's not that small.
yeah, yeah. Those of us on the coasts were always,
Yeah.
although I was just at the Vision Conference, which was really, it's nice because it's at Mount Hermon by Santa Cruz, California. So it's not far. I really enjoy that. It's the only time I get to stay in my own time zone.
Well, I think we may be finished up with questions. I'll give it a few extra minutes in case anybody has any other questions. But I really want to thank Christina for joining us for a book chat. And you're very easy to talk to. I want to tell you that. Like I felt at ease right away. I was like, okay, we're good. We're friends. We're good.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I love just getting to chat books. It's great.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun just to talk books.
Oh, so seriously, Max Lucado must have stolen it too, because
Well, she read the middle grade book because it had the same title.
yeah, there's
Elma,
actually
I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's one I keep seeing popping up that someone I think just published that has the same title. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, glad you enjoyed it, Jamie. It was good. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. Good choice.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for reading the book. It's such a privilege to have people read my stories. I really appreciate you guys.
Yep, I haven't reviewed it yet, but I will after this. I was like, no, I'll just wait until after my book chat. Well, I guess that's it. So thank you again, Christina, and it was a lot of fun. I can't wait to give you lots of hugs in person next month. It'll be lots of fun.
Yay! Yay! All right. Oh,
Okay,
sit
good
around
night, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, okay. Mom said she's gonna read it before she meets you too.
Oh, too cool.
Yep.
I'll see you
Okay,
there,
good
Diane.
night, everyone.
Bye.